What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Quick Pitch MLB DFS live stream here for Wednesday's 6-game James here evening slate. We got a little main slate starting at 6:35. We had a fantastic afternoon slate for those who took part over on DraftKings. They gave you 8 games to kick off today starting at 1 o'clock. FanDuel was messing around, giving you a handful of like 3 games, 4 games, whatever. We got our way through it. And now we're here, main slate, DraftKings and FanDuel. Looking at the DraftKings slate here tonight, just 6 games on the docket for everybody here. James, man, how is our Wednesday going?
Our Wednesday's, Wednesday follows Tuesday. It's before Thursday, so they all bleed into each other. And no, I mean it's been a good day. Playoff basketball, if you're into that, taking place today again after an exciting day of basketball. All day baseball, including a Yankees win. Always a good start to your day, John. When the Yankees win, I know you also love when the Yankees win. It's never really like, considering how we have such opposite takes on teams. Like the fact that we get along so well in our shows really speaks to us as people here.
You're a Giants and Yankees fan. I'm a Patriots and Red Sox fan. Yankees won earlier today, like you mentioned. The Red Sox get Tampa Bay here to close out their series here against them. It hasn't gone too well. They got Chris Sale on the mound. Those of you who are paid attention, you saw that Wander Franco is on the cover of today's live stream. Lets you know what we're feeling about Chris Sale's chances here today in that spot. 6 games, we talk about it a lot, like our sweet spot for slates are the 6 to 8 game range. And for 6 games, we have some pretty decent pitching options here for the smaller slate size here, which it also means some pretty consolidated expected rostership as well here, James. But before we break down each position like we do, why don't we head on over to Vegas here and take a look at some of the high game totals, some targets, maybe even some weather that we should be paying attention to today?
Sure. So again, we're going to take your private jet because we all know, how that goes. We're going to take your private jet.
I'll be in Vegas on Thursday. I can feel it in my bones, man. I'll be there.
But let's just get this out of the way. Really no winds to worry about, or no wind, no weather. Everything looks smooth and clean, and it's going to be a nice slate for weather. So we'll start there. But when we go over and look at Vegas, there are some big favorites tonight. Kevin Gausman and the Blue Jays minus 300 over on FanDuel Sportsbook against the Detroit Tigers. Spencer Strider minus 290 at home against Cincinnati. Nathan Eovaldi against KC minus 174. And Clayton Kershaw, old buddy, old pal, minus 160 against the San Francisco Giants. Those are the biggest favorites on the board tonight. I know Dean Kramer is also a pretty big favorite, minus 188. The reason I didn't mention him is maybe something we'll get into when we talk about the offenses. Is I kind of like the offense more than I like Dean Kramer, but he is a minus 188 favorite over on FanDuel. So it is, I guess, a topic of conversation. And then when you look at implied runs, speaking of the Oakland-Baltimore game, they do have 9 over under there. That is the slate high, along with KC and Texas, those 2 games sitting at 9, 8.5 in Boston, Tampa, 8.5 in Detroit, Toronto. But you'll soon find out, like, those totals are because of one team. Like, Toronto has the highest implied run total on the board today, 5.5 runs in an 8.5 game over under, right? So, like, all the runs are being implied to Toronto in that game. They also have the biggest favorite on the mound. He is the highest price pitcher on the mound. So Toronto implied runs 5.5, Baltimore 5.4, Texas 5.2. Those are the 3 teams over 5 implied runs. Atlanta 4.9 for all those, rounding up to 5.
Let's take a look at the pitching slate tonight. Yeah, you mentioned Kevin Gausman, or you mentioned the Blue Jays being the largest favorites here on the board. You have Kevin Gausman. He's at home. He gets Detroit here. Has yet to allow an earned run over 2 starts here. Back-to-back starts with 7 strikeouts in each of them. Kansas City, St. Louis, both on the road. Now here at home, he's $10,100 as your most expensive starter. But top half here are also pretty good matchups. You got Kershaw, you got Strider at home against Cincinnati. And then we have Eovaldi here, who has pitched well to begin the year. But if you look at the last two starters for Texas and how they fared against Kansas City, the ceiling might be a little bit higher for Eovaldi tonight as well.
Yes. I think it's a very interesting tier. I have a lot of interest in Kevin Gossman. And just because Alek Manoah didn't, pan out last night doesn't mean we're going to suddenly not use Kevin Gossman tonight. Even despite some struggles from Manoah, the Tigers are still 28th in baseball against right-handed pitching in terms of OPS. They have an 0.92 ISO. They're not hitting for any power. And we mentioned they just lack depth in their lineup, and it hasn't gotten any better with, Austin Meadows going to the IL and people just really not panning out. Like Matt Vierling is leading off. He's a lefty specialist. Right. Riley Green has been striking out every other at bat. Seemingly he's hitting third. So Kevin Gossman is clearing away, I think, the top arm on the slate. Clayton Kershaw's fine. We saw him get snake bit by the home run ball last time out, and now he's allowed 3 home runs in his first 2 starts. Love the pitches. Something that we talk about a lot when it comes to Dodgers pitchers and the way that Dave Roberts handles them. But from 76 to 91 from first to second start is great to see. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to throw 100 pitches here, but at least it's in the realm of possibility, and at least we know that if Kershaw needs to dig deep and throw 90 pitches, he's going to. San Francisco against left-handed pitching this year, John, that is where we exploit them. 100, just less than 100 plate appearance sample it's not a lot especially for an entire lineup. But boy, oh boy, 533 team OPS, second worst in baseball. 38.5% strikeout rate. Golly.
Yeah.
Against left-handed pitching this year. Hard not to love Kershaw.
Over under 6.5 strikeouts tonight. It's minus 125 on the over tonight. So they're thinking 7 strikeouts or more here for Mr. Kershaw.
Right. And not often there is, he's minus 160 on the road. That is not all too common, especially for the Giants, who have showed that they can show some thump. They just haven't against lefties this year. So I love Kershaw. And I think you bring up a great point about Nathan Eovaldi. We kind of saw the breakout at the end of his Boston tenure. That was the guy that the Yankees had hoped for, in previous iterations of Nathan Eovaldi had hoped for, and he was the best version of him as a major leaguer, not just trying to throw 103 miles an hour and blow up by hitters. Because let's face it, MLB they face that every single day in every rotation and every bullpen. There's 2 to 3 to 4 guys that are coming in to throw 100 miles an hour. And it seemingly has worked out for Eovaldi. He's looked good in the strikeout department to start the year. 12 strikeouts in 6 in each of his first 2 starts. And you mentioned it, again, Andrew Heaney profiles better as a strikeout arm. So does Jacob deGrom, obviously. But Kansas City's still striking out against right-handed pitchers as a whole, the 9th most in baseball at 24.5%.
Eovaldi minus 145 on the 5.5 strikeout total over tonight for him. So at least maybe 6 strikeouts, if not more, potentially in store for him against Kansas City tonight.
Yeah, and to your point, he's done this. His first starting 82 pitches, second start 89 pitches. This is a guy that's clearly being built up to, 95 pitches here tonight. Not maybe 100. Maybe he could touch 100 depending on how, smoothly things are going. So the more pitches, obviously, the more batters he's going to face, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think the over is fantastic in the 5.5 line. And I think Nathan Eovaldi, is one of, especially if you like bats tonight, we're going to get to some expensive bats. We didn't mention, I skipped over Strider because we'll circle back. And
Strider's got a 9 strikeout total tonight.
Yeah, I'm a diehard, but this is the first slate where it might be difficult to pay up because we actually have a pitcher, albeit it's Kevin Gausman. It's crazy. Over 10K, right? We've been talking all week where
not even Max Scherzer was over 10K, right? So
last night, Ohtani and deGrom were both not 10K. Two of the best pitchers in the game, 2 of the best players in the game, not 10K. So If you want to get to savings off of Gossman, Kershaw, Strider, you can do Evaldi. But John, people came into the year asking if Spencer Strider can really be this good with just 2 pitches. And I know there's been a development of a 3rd pitch, but this guy is just, he has 10 to 15 strikeout upside every time he takes the mound.
Right. Love the pitch count, 96, 101. You want to see be a little bit more efficient, maybe against Washington. Obviously, 6 innings there, 9 strikeouts, 96 pitches. Tougher lineup against San Diego, 3 runs allowed, a homer, 3 walks, and still 9 Ks there. If he can pitch deeper into games, he definitely has that kind of upside. If he pitches 5, 6 innings, definitely can. A little bit tougher. But a guy that goes 5, 6 innings and is still getting you 30 fantasy points with the K upside is fantastic. Again, we got that out of Heaney just the other night, 5 innings out of him and 32 or 33 fantasy points with all those strikeouts. Once we get past Evaldi, though, it kind of drops off a little bit of a cliff here. All depends on what you believe and don't believe in. Chris Sale, Alex Cobb, Hunter Green, guys that can be good. Tough spots, not the right form. Maybe Chris Sale will never be the old Chris Sale. Hunter Green, a ton of strikeout guy, but very tough lineup. Alex Cobb going up against the Dodgers. So maybe on different slates there'd be some interest here, but these are definitely tough spots to kind of trust these guys.
Yeah, also just to point out, Spencer Strider is significantly higher owned than everyone else on the slate. So if you're building cash lineups, Strider's your SP1 and then you move on. I largely agree on the rest of the tier. I do have some mild interest in Brad Keller. He's opened the season looking pretty good. He just needs to, harness the control aspect of things a little bit. But he's a very good ground ball pitcher with some strikeout upside, as we saw in the Minnesota game. And look, Texas, without Corey Seager, the lineup kind of looks different. Josh Smith hitting second. Jonah Heim not in the lineup. Mitch Garver is obviously in the IL. So now 2 of their top 5 hitters are on the IL. Their 3rd string catcher in Sandy Leon is now in their starting lineup. Brad Miller, we know, is a strikeout waiting to happen at times, or has been in the last few years. So I kind of look at this Texas lineup and think that they're a little watered down. I understand they have a juicy implied total, 3rd highest on the board at 5.2 runs. And I know their offense is coming into this game hot, but it's largely been driven by Corey Seager the last 2 nights. Before the injury, Seager was 2 for 2. I was on base 3 times. Jonah Heim hit a walk-off 3-run home run last night. He's not in the lineup anymore. Yeah. So I just think there is some merit to getting to Brad Keller if he can control the ball and keep the ball down. That's another thing. But if he does both those things, a low-owned Brad Keller isn't the worst. I'm
maybe
also
a little more strikeout potential, just given who's in the lineup as well.
Yep. Yeah. Look, it's not like we need to go to really anyone down here. Let's be honest, right? Sure. We don't, because Strider is cheap and Evaldi is cheap in where they should be. Strider should be a 10K plus pitcher. Evaldi probably, if he continues on this path, is going to be a 9K pitcher before we know it. We can just...
Evaldi is minus 180, by the way, on the under 2.5 runs allowed. So that's a pretty big line.
So. And I agree on the other guys, Hunter Green, super crazy strikeout ceiling, but he might strike out 10 guys and give up 4 home runs in the same game. The
Pittsburgh game, right? 3 1/3 innings, 8 strikeouts with 3 runs, 3 walks out of the game.
Yeah. And the strikeouts is really where you make your mark on DraftKings. It is a crucial part of it. We don't register quality starts like we do on FanDuel.
And you get dinged for everything.
And you get dinged for everything. So he still managed to give you double-digit fantasy points, even in outings where there's just been traffic constantly, which is, encouraging. But against the Braves, I mean, they're hitting everybody. So and Sale, so 7 base runners against this Tigers lineup. I know he he settled down in that game. He was very bad early and then like really came around. But still, you don't like 74 pitches in the second time out. You don't like that he was at 74 and got pulled after 5. So like it's really hard to get to anyone else. I don't think you need to. If you were like desperate, I think Brad Keller is probably the guy. But it's still scary because Texas has a 5.2 implied
Well,
run.
that's what it is, right? It's not only do they have the high run total, but also, again, if you're just looking at the Vegas odds for Eovaldi, the fact that they think he's going to give up less than 2.5 runs doesn't speak great for the win equity there for Mr. Keller either.
For Keller,
All right, let's go on over to the catcher position. We do at least have a good amount of lineups available to us because this slate lost at 6:30 tonight, guys. So basically, right after we're done here, you got about a half an hour to build out some lineups and get it in. If you're not in our MLB DFS Discord already, you're not a member of the All Pro Family Member Package, you can check out that scroll down there at the bottom, fantasyalarm.com/all-pro. Promo code MLB50 saves you 50% off the first 6 months. That's access to all sports for just about $20 a month, all the way through the first month of the NFL season as well. So really no better deal to get in there, start chatting up with everybody, start building some lineups. Once James and I are done with this stream, we go into the Discord and we start answering questions and helping everybody get ready for the main slate here tonight. So with that said, James, we didn't talk much about Oakland-Baltimore from the pitching angle. We don't really have much interest in Oakland probably from an offensive standpoint, but from a hitting standpoint tonight, Adley Rutschman is $5,100 here against Waldichuk, lefty matchup for him. Are you spending up for the big Baltimore catcher?
I am. I know it's a tough ballpark to hit in, or it has been. I think Ryan Mountcastle debunked that theory last night with 9 RBIs and 2 home runs. I have interest in pretty much every single piece. I might play Baltimore Oriole bench guys today, John. Just because when they're up 16-2 in the 4th inning, we might get some bench at bats. Not really, but just kidding. And Ice Through, what's up, dude? I see you in the comment section over there. Our man Ice Through, one of the biggest supporters we have on site. We appreciate you for always stopping by in Discord and our live streams and podcasts, all that good stuff. Probably gonna get another takedown tonight because one of those rare dudes that reads the room right all the time.
He takes the information that we put out there and puts it to use better than we do. So congratulations on that.
definitely does. Yeah, look, Rutschman has been awesome against left-handed pitching to start the year.
Yeah, last year was the other split. He was killer against righties, but this year he's hitting 460 against lefties. Super small sample size. It's like 7 for 13 or something like that. But we've been drooling over Baltimore offense most of this season here. Now you're getting just a bad pitcher in Oakland here on the mound. So it should be interesting because if you're looking at the top group, like we're not really in love with Salvi or Stevenson, Melendez, nope. Sean Murphy, maybe. Again, the everyday starter, Sean Murphy now with Darno on the injury list starting to come through and hit. Danny Jansen's at 3,600, gets the lefty matchup there against Rodriguez. Christian Bettencourt, we do like him in lineups against left-handed pitching there. $3,000 up against Chris Sale. Certainly someone you could maybe find a lineup. They're double catching today. James McCann also in the lineup for Baltimore, so Rutschman must be DHing, I would imagine, for their lineup. We know McCann historically is hit lefty as well, $2,200 there if you're looking just to straight up punt the position. But if it's not Adley for you, who's your other catcher on this small slate?
How about James McCann hitting 4th for the Baltimore Orioles today, huh? That is, and yet, John, we sit here and they have the second highest implied total on the board, right? It's like Baltimore with 5.4 run implied total with James McCann hitting 4th. I mean, look, it's probably McCann. Just Ken
no Cedric Mullins, no Santander in the lineup tonight. So
this year, Ken Waldichuk has 8 registered innings against right-handed pitching. Do you know how many home runs he has allowed in those 8 innings? 6.
That's not a good number. That's not a good number.
13 earned runs. 13 earned runs against right-handed batters alone. 897 slug, 567 WOBA against
So are you saying I
right-handed
should
bats.
take the over RBI prop over on Prize Pick tonight?
I see you looking for it. I see you looking for it.
I'm typing it up. I'm just gonna go check the board over here again. We hit our Prize Picks power play of the day for the opening slate 2 days in a row. Congratulations to everybody that followed that. Those picks are free on YouTube. If you're watching this right now and you're watching it from YouTube, subscribe. We give out the picks free every day. They're in the Discord. If you're watching on Twitter, go to the YouTube, subscribe. It's there for you. Back-to-back days there with the winning picks for Prize Picks.
And John, do you pay for those?
You don't. They're free.
Picks, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just checking. I must have
free.
I forgot.
So Ryan Mountcastle and Adley Rutschman, I don't have an RBI total for them, but I got a run score total over a half a run. Do you think Mountcastle or Rutschman find their way to cross the plate tonight against Waldachuk?
I mean, there's a good. They both hit righty. They both swing from the right side, and he's allowed 14 earned runs.
Hitter fantasy score. Ryan Mountcastle 7.5. That feels like a W. Feels like a pretty good.
I
had 46 fantasy points last night.
Feels like a pretty good number.
Adley Rutschman 3 straight games over 7.5 fantasy score. 4 of the last 5. Listen, we talk about everything on this stream. Sure, it's a DFS DraftKings breakdown, but as James just alluded to, man, 6 home runs allowed in 8 innings to righties. That's a big number. That's a big number.
That's bad. That is. If you continue that, you will not pitch in the major leagues.
I don't know how he's still in the major leagues after his first 2 innings. So.
We're talking about Oakland here, right? So, this is our version of the Charlotte Hornets.
7 home runs allowed. This is the 2/3 innings for this man.
Yes, which means, by the way, in his 2/3 of an inning that he's recorded outs against lefties, he's also allowed a home run. So. 3 batters faced, one for 3, 1 home run against lefties. So I think James McCann is the clear-cut number 2 catcher. Danny Jansen hit for a lot of power last year. They have the highest implied total.
1 for quick math here. 1 for 18 to start the year.
1 for 18. 100% agree. You also factor in something that's been kind of trending with Eduardo Rodriguez since the Boston days is that he's always been weirdly reverse splitsy, where he's always struggled against lefties and always has been better against righties. That hasn't changed this year whatsoever. 480 WOBA against lefties, 302 against righties. Still not necessarily worried in the power department. He's thought 452 slug to righties already this year. So if we're playing Danny Jansen, it's home run kind of or bust. We know W.D. Smith won't be in the lineup unless he's DHing.
Austin Barnes, personal catcher.
Clayton Kershaw's on the personal catcher, Austin Barnes, for Clayton Kershaw. So I don't dislike Rutschman being able to hit tonight only. I love that because he is literally only focusing on pitchers all night long and not the ones he's catching, right? Same could be for W.D. Smith if you want to be contrarian and go Dodgers. We know the Dodgers are incredibly good. So if they, find your way into a lineup, wouldn't hate that. But yeah, I think the 2 Baltimore catchers, clearly 1 and 1B, 1A, 1B, and then probably Danny Jansen for me. I don't know if there's anyone else for you that you like.
That's it. I just want to give a shout out to Serge in there. He loves the stream. We love you.
We love you too.
Happy to have you tuning in. Hope you enjoy the information you're getting. If you got any questions, again, if you're watching this, don't be shy. Throw your question in the stream. James and I here will help you guys set up. We're right up till 6 o'clock tonight. Roster lock at 6:35. If you have a FanDuel question, shoot it to us too. Just because we're looking at DraftKings doesn't mean we can't help you out with FanDuel there. So, feel free to throw your questions. If you got a betting question, give us your betting question. We'll certainly help you out. Again, we're looking at some Prize Picks props. At least I am as well, given the fantasy score.
Underdog.
Yeah, James wants to throw some underdog out there. We can talk some props over an underdog. You guys will help us dictate the show. But for now, we're going to move on to first base position here. Listen, you and I, last night, what did we say? We love Matt Olson if it wasn't Paul Goldschmidt. Matt Olson goes yard. That's not going to change for us. I think most nights we're like Matt Olson's going to be among our top 2 first basemen. Green, we talk about big strikeout upside. He also gives up home runs. So for me, Matt Olson at $5,200 is a pretty strong play. Vladdy Guerrero, 5,800, super expensive. Yandy Diaz homered last night, James. I don't know if we can count on that repeating itself, but we know that Tampa Bay's offense has been pretty wild. But I mean, is it point chasing to play Mountcastle, or like, you know?
I mean, it's not point chasing. It's so like this is our like Coors Field ownership, right? Like if think about
Right.
Coors, Baltimore is going to be extremely popular tonight. We've already talked about Rutschman. Their 4-hitter James McCann at catcher is a punt, right? So you can afford that. Ryan Mountcastle just had a jillion fantasy points. Actually, just look at there's like 7 commas.
If you're
and how many
Oakland, do you
fantasy
even
points he
pitch to
scored
him
last
today?
night.
Like, what's the point?
No, you're right. But like he's $4,300. Their 5-hitter, who we'll get to as multi-position eligibility, $3,300. Gunnar Henderson, $4,000. Their outfielders, they only have 2 registered on DraftKings, both under $4,000.
It's unfortunate that there's a lefty on the mound because the GOAT Jorge Mateo would be just all over our lineups tonight.
True. The thing is, like, it's Mountcastle versus the field right now in terms of ownership. It's Baltimore versus the field. And right now, I'm leaning toward Baltimore because we're facing a guy who is allowing just a stupid amount of home runs. And I get it. Baltimore's park, like yada, yada, yada. But Orioles offense has just been awesome, and Waldichuk has not. So I love Mountcastle here. I love all the other guys you mentioned. John, you were dead spot on about the ballpark in Toronto yesterday.
Most home runs ever hit on an opening day game for Toronto.
There was the viral thing about
the girl eating the hot dogs.
The girl eating the hot dogs. I mean, she must have not got the memo about the ballpark, right?
They moved the walls in. They made them high. They made them higher, but again, Vladdy's problem wasn't that he was hitting them too low.
Right.
So
yeah. So like, I think like you're like it's Mountcastle is the best first base play of the
first
day.
Base sounds right too,
including Price. Yeah, first bay of the day. But and Olson's fine. I love Vladdy as a pivot. He's incredibly expensive. People probably like, oh, I don't know if I can really get there. It's $5,800. Guess who has the highest implied total? More than Baltimore.
Right.
Toronto does, right? 5.5. So I love Olson. Yandy Diaz is flexing his power and his 2 top unbuttoned parts of his jersey. 3 home runs already this year. This is a Nathaniel Lowe fan club podcast that we've built here. Now and turn into a live stream. But it's Mountcastle, and my pivot is Vladdy for me personally.
I'm with you there. I think it's probably Mountcastle. You like Vladdy. I think Olson's still maybe a pretty strong play there. Not that you disagreed, but an interesting spot for them. Value tier. What do we didn't talk about really the cheap guys on it. I mean, Bradley's making his debut for Tampa. Tristan Casas is hitting 4th tonight, $2,600. Would you dart throw Casas in a lineup here today?
In a tournament, if you're multi-entering, I don't think like if you're playing single entry, Tristan Casas is like making my build because that means we're not playing Mountcastle or Vlad or Olson, right? So in a single entry or a cash game, no. In a multi-entry tournament, in a 20 max, in a 150 max, I will definitely have shares because
home run.
What does he do? He has literally light tower power. So sure. In large field.
Our guy William missed the pitcher part. We'll just quickly recap that. We were in on the top guys: Gossman, Kershaw, Strider, Evaldi. And then after that, it was really just a dart throw. James thinks maybe Brad Keller is your value play on the pitching side of things tonight. Given who is in Texas's lineup, pretty weak lineup that they're throwing out there this evening. So maybe Keller if you're not in on that. But it could certainly be a direction to go. Otherwise, we're looking to spend up at pitcher tonight. Gossman is the biggest favorite on the board. And I like Evaldi a lot. You're just looking at the way Kansas City and Texas have their pitchers for the Rangers strikeout galore with Heaney and DeGrom the last 2 nights there. So that's our quick pitcher recap. Let's go on over. Yep.
And William, I was just gonna say, if you're playing, depending on always, if you need something specific, like who's the best cash game pitchers or who's the best tournament pitchers, something, a good indicator. If you head over to fantasyalarm.com and look at our ownership forecaster, it will give you an idea of like, okay, this guy's going to be X amount owned in cash. That pitcher tonight is Spencer Strider. He is the highest owned pitcher projected on the slate. So if you're playing cash tonight, William, specifically, I would start my builds with Spencer Strider at least.
I think the Prize Picks people are watching the stream because they just boosted Adley Rutschman's fantasy score from 7.5 to 8.
Shout out Prize Picks.
Yeah,
Shout out Prize Picks.
They're in the stream. Yeah, they're paying attention to what we're doing around here. All right. So, like I said, back to second base here. Mookie Betts, second base eligible again, 5,800. Jonathan India against Strider, probably a no. I don't like Simeon. I know we talk about it every stream. He's got power, stolen base. Not for me. He's just not for me. I don't want to pay the 52. I don't think I get there. I mean, your remote.
John is a Marcus Simeon hater. I think it's probably the jawline that John hates the most. I don't think it's anything to do with his play. I think John just wishes he had the Simeon jawline.
True. I wish you almost have the Ramon Urias goatee going.
Do it. Let's. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Ramon Urias is by choice. Mine is, like I cannot grow a beard here, so like
if I remember correctly, Ramon Urias last year against lefties was like,
Baltimore has had a good.
Austin Hayes kills lefties too, right?
There is a reason that Baltimore is. If you look at the rostership, and you click on it, the top 10 names, it's Spencer Strider and then 9 Baltimore guys and then everybody else. Like everyone is going to play Baltimore.
I think I confused Ramon with Luis Urias, by the way. Ramon hit righties better last year. I think Luis Urias hit lefties better last year.
Still has the split advantage. Still going to be popular hitting fifth.
Yeah, 100%.
In a matchup where, look, he's been wishy-washy, but hits in 4 of his last 5 games. 2 doubles over that span, has drawn 3 walks over that span. So he's been on the base paths a lot more. There's multi-position eligibility for Ramon Urias too, which you have to love. So I mean, there's no reason not to like him at $3,300.
Yeah, again, to your point, right? I don't want to be like just stupid repetitive when it comes to all this, but Baltimore is just the chalk. So every Baltimore player is going to be in play here tonight.
Correct.
William, he wants to play Strider, but he's looking at Bradley as an SP2. Are you punting your SP2 against Boston tonight?
So I don't hate Taj Bradley. I don't hate the idea of it. Yoshida getting scratched, definitely doesn't hurt. So now Yoshida is out. Duvall's already on the IL. I don't dislike it. I mean, Tristan Casas hitting 4th has as much power as he has just as much strikeout equity attached to his name. Justin Turner, we know, is just not what he used to be, hitting 200 this year, and he's batting 3rd. I don't dislike it. He's $4,000, right? Like, at the end of the day, we don't necessarily need the money unless we are spending up on Dodgers, right? If we're spending up on Dodgers, then I can see it. If you're spending up on Tampa Bay, I can see getting to it, right? Like correlating the pitcher with the hitters too is fine. I don't hate Taj Bradley, just not like something I think we need to do with Baltimore being so cheap. Like you can play Gosman Strider or Strider Evaldi or Strider Kershaw, whatever the combination of top 4 guys with Baltimore, and then go really anywhere else you want to go with another stack, or if you want to do one-offs or two by two, like whatever you want to do. So like you can go Bradley. I just think that's for me a secondary approach on today's.
I'm with you there. All right, let's go on over to the third base position here then. Rafi Devers is your top price second baseman at 63. Austin Riley at 56. You get Muncy there at 48. The forgotten soul, Matt Chapman's at 47. He homered last night as part of the grouping. Gunnar Henderson, and I don't need to keep talking about Baltimore, but he's hitting 6 at 4K. Josh Jung is the guy you've mentioned. We got the lefties. I mean, you got the guys like Paredes against the lefty and Sale. Where are you kind of keying in and starting your third base position at?
Yeah, so like I actually don't dislike Muncy. We saw the home run upside. We saw the slate breaking upside just the other night. If Alex Cobb is not keeping the ball down, he's someone who can allow a home run. Muncy's fine, 48. Matt Chapman not only homered last night, John, he has now homered in 3 straight games, 3 straight multi-hit games for Matt Chapman. He has 8 RBI over that span. He's even stolen a base in that stretch as well. So Matt Chapman, 4,700. Again, Blue Jays are just such good plays tonight. I know we've spent this whole entire stream as the number one proponent for Baltimore. Toronto is as good, if not better, than Baltimore. I think like per dollar, Baltimore's the better play because they're obviously a lot cheaper and allow you to do a lot more things. But that might depress Toronto's ownership a little bit, and getting to Matt Chapman 4,700 is a good idea. I am very sad at the start Gunnar Henderson is off to because I am invested in Gunnar Henderson quite a bit. Can't dislike the walks, and he's, despite only having 4 hits, he's been on base 13 times already this year. Like, it's been nice, but like, we need something else. Maybe this is the spot to get him going. Like lefty, I understand, but there's multi-position eligibility here for Gunnar Henderson, which we have to love as well. So I love that. Isaac Paredes is a beast against left-handed pitching. And Chris Sale is going to continue to struggle. I'm going to have interest in Isaac Paredes because he is hitting third every time there's a lefty on the mound. Hit a home run against the Red Sox just yesterday, has had 3 home runs already. 314 average is a pretty good sight too. Really doing nothing wrong at the plate. So Paredes, Gunnar, Chapman really are where I'm honing in on. Don't hate Riley or Muncy either.
No, I agree with you. Again, it's one of those things where we talk about all the time. Like, fandom doesn't win you money usually. So being a Red Sox fan, I have to kind of take that Red Sox hat off, look at it, and realize Tampa Bay's offense has been an absolute juggernaut, and they hit left-handed pitching really well, and Chris Sale kind of sucks. So, Paredes at $3,700 makes a lot of sense for a lot of lineups tonight. And those who aren't Red Sox fans are going to be stacking against Chris Sale most likely tonight. So, I agree with you. It's a good spot there for sure. Was there anybody else that I know you've rattled off a whole bunch of names there, but anybody you wanted to just sort of like call a core, I guess, here?
I was just gonna make a comment. It would suck to have Chris Sale in like an auction draft for like $9.
Yeah, I was talking to you like just clicked him and then couldn't go back. I agree.
We have a couple comments here at third. Matt Chapman today on FanDuel, $4,400. It's crazy, but we talk about it all the time. Like, no matter what Matt Chapman's price is, that could be $2,400.
Nobody pays. He's the forgotten man. You see Springer, Vlad, Bichette, your eyes light up, and by that point, you have no more money. So nobody plays Chapman because they can't afford him. So
and he's been their best, and he's arguably better. He's been better than all of them. 15 RBIs in 11 games.
They get on base, and he drives them in.
Right.
100%. I like Chapman for sure.
And then William, do you believe Baltimore pieces will be too chalky? I mean, they're going to be chalky. There is too chalky.
This is where
how you interpret
it. Risk management or risk aversion maybe is a better way to talk about it. If you're okay with 60% of the field playing, Mountcastle, and you get Vladdy at 10%, then sure. But understand that if Mountcastle does what he's been doing, you probably lose tonight. So, we talk good chalk, bad chalk a lot on this show. Some nights it makes sense. If you're multi-entering, then sure. But you said it looks like you're playing single entry. So if you're okay losing tonight, which everybody should be okay understanding that losing is part of DFS, then you take that chance. You fade the chalk. You play Vladdy. You hope Vladdy's the one that homers tonight and not Mountcastle, and then you have the edge on the field. But a lot of people are going to be on Baltimore tonight. The ownership's going to be high. We're looking at some of that already. That's what we're looking at tonight.
I agree with everything you said. And in terms of ownership, like if you're breaking it down by team, I mean, it looks like after Baltimore, they're the clear-cut number one. Texas and Toronto are like 2 and 3, but there is a wide gap. Like the gap is off the screen for Baltimore up here, and then everyone else's ownership is depressed just because there's going to be a lot of lineup trains with 5 Baltimore guys and 4 Baltimore guys. So, I'm if you want to fade Baltimore fully, that's fine. If you want to play a piece or two that you think is like Gunnar Henderson's 4 for 31. If you don't want to play him, you don't have to force him into your lineup, right? So there's different with everything you said, John.
Yep. All right, let's go on over to the shortstop position here. Wander was on the cover of our stream today. We know Wander has hit left-handed pitching really well. Already off a really great start to the year. He's $5,800. Are you paying up for Wander Franco tonight?
You surely can. Career in 95 games against left-handed pitching. It's an 182 at-bat sample, 330 average, 376 WOBA, 544 slug, 214 ISO. So all the power that he really has, not all of it, but 153 ISO against righties compared to 214 lefties. Like you just see the power is coming from the right side of the plate. 391 WOBA, 158 RC plus, WRC plus. There is nothing to dislike about Wander Franco. The only hesitation is the price point. And, the same can be said about Bo Bichette, who has looked amazing recently. 3 home runs in his last 4 games. Multi-hit games up the wazoo lately. Like, I love both these guys. So, like, picking between Franco and Bichette is tough for me tonight. I am personally a little bit more on the Toronto side of this argument. So I actually would lean Bichette ever so slightly, but like I cannot fault a single person who's like, yeah, I'm going to play Wander Franco tonight over Bo Bichette. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's a great play. Like I can't say anything. I'm probably pivoting to Toronto. I think we saw last night that this park in Toronto is going to be even more favorable than ever before.
If they have the roof open too, I mean that's something to pay attention to there. Also, I mean, just you can see the balls fly out of Toronto there. William wants to know: would you bet the over in Baltimore, Oakland tonight? Both pitchers are pretty bad. Yeah, Dean Kremer's pretty bad, but Oakland's offense is atrocious. So
they are quite bad.
I'd be more willing to bet Baltimore's team total over than Oakland's team total over. Betting the game total over tonight. What are we looking at here?
Game total is 9 across the industry.
Yeah, I would rather take a shot on betting Baltimore's individual team total. I'm looking at DraftKings Sportsbook right now. That's sitting at, so it's at 5.5, but you're getting plus odds on the 5.5. They have the under 5.5 at -145, probably because James McCann is hitting cleanup.
Probably because James McCann is hitting.
The A's run total is actually -140 and the over 3.5. I don't know. I don't love it. I like the individual players there of Mountcastle and Adley. And I think if you do a 3-man stack, that's fine. I'm not going overboard with Baltimore in terms of my lineups around there, Urias, whatever. But betting it over maybe feels a little bit tough. Those are some big numbers there.
Yeah, I agree. And Dean Kremer has not been good, but like, I mean, you just look at Oakland's lineup. It is not good. It is not great, Bob. That's it's not great.
No, one of the worst offenses in baseball this season. Just pulling up Fangraphs quickly here, just to kind of go over, put some context to what we're talking about when it comes to Oakland here against right-handed pitching on the season. Oakland as a team, all these everybody wants pop-up ads, man. 26.8% strikeout rate. That's the 3rd highest in baseball. Their .213 batting average is the 5th worst. They got an OPS of, what are we looking at here? 628. OPS is the 5th worst in baseball. So, yeah, not a lot of good numbers there. when it comes to their numbers against right-handed pitching for the Oakland A's. So
they've hit 9 home runs this year, John. Total 9.
Yeah.
There has been more than 9 games. There's only 3 teams with less home runs. One of them on the slate, the Detroit Tigers. So
yeah, it's not good, folks. It's not good. So yeah, betting. If you listen, William, right? If you want to go team total over, I would bet the O's here at 5.5. You're getting plus money on it. It's plus 115 on DraftKings Sportsbook. So, if you're a believer in Adley and Mountcastle tonight, then it's certainly something to look at there. JD Davis with the BVP playoff Kershaw. Listen, JD Davis hits lefties. We know that about him. So, do I want to ever play anybody against Kershaw? Not really. 11 at-bats isn't a huge sample size, but it is good to know he's got 3 home runs off of him. So if that's a tiebreaker for you, sure. Am I putting JD Davis in my lineup specifically because he's 5 for 11 off Kershaw? I'm not doing that.
I mean, I'm not.
This isn't the Paul Goldschmidt, Madison Bumgarner, or Tim Lincecum, rather, I think it was split, where he had like 6 home runs and like 8 at-bats or whatever the heck it was to start his career. Some absurd.
That's the G-Man Choi versus Garrett Cole thing too, where G-Man Choi was like 11 for 12 with like 5 home runs. You're like, okay, this is just gonna happen again. I am not, you know me, I am not like a big BVP guy necessarily, unless there is a substantial sample, because like we're talking about players, we're judging players off what, 500 at-bats a year, right? Like 11 at-bats over a career is not, like, there's so many different factors. There's different teams, ballparks, weather, atmosphere, a family member could have passed. Like, there's so many different factors going into your day-to-day that, like, BVP really, I think, only is viable, like you said, maybe as a tiebreaker, when there's like everything else is even, or like when there is a large sample.
Yeah. For the record, it was 7 home runs and 28 at-bats off Lincecum for Paul Goldschmidt.
That's a lot of home runs.
It was a lot of home runs and not many at-bats there. One off JD Davis, sure. Again, you know what? Power like that as a separator can certainly be what makes a difference in a lineup. If he hits a home run for you, that's fine. Again, nobody, in my opinion, is going to be stacking Giants tonight. We talked about the crazy strikeout numbers against left-handed pitching for the Giants lineup and the fact that they aren't hitting them at all either. But guys like Wilmer Flores, JD Davis, they have men in their lineup that do hit lefties. So, certainly one thing could happen and kind of take over there. So I'm not gonna fight you too much on it. Any other shortstops here? We talked about the top guys: Franco, Bichette. Bobby Witt is actually starting to heat up a little bit. We know the talent's been there now. 3 hits in the last 4 games. RBI off of DeGrom last night. 2 hits there. He was a guy. He had a 120 batting average in balls in play to start the year. So that was not going to last forever. Get Evaldi. We like Evaldi tonight, but Bobby Witt's another guy up there that could be a pivot off of him.
Yeah, and we know Bobby Witt not only has power, he has speed. So like he can always break a slate, even if he's doing it all by himself. So yeah, I think Bobby Witt's a fine pivot off Franco or Bichette at the top.
Okay. For value, Santiago Espinal is $2,700. That's probably the only cheap shortstop.
I mean, I'd play Jorge Mateo $3,900. I know, like, he's been so good to start the year. 286. Like, I think maybe the best part, Jorge Mateo strikes out a lot. Only 7 strikeouts in 9 games is pretty encouraging.
And Waldichuk might not even be on the mound by the time Mateo gets on the board. So, who's
and I mean, dude, 6 strikeouts or 6 stolen bases in 9 games is like, I mean, it's just the guy's, if he just has a moderately decent on-base percentage this year, he's going to steal 50 bags. So.
Yep. Our Arizona Diamondback stack against Jason Junk is starting to look pretty good here. Corbin Carroll just homered. So shout out to the early morning podcast for the 1 p.m. slate here. Diamondbacks now got 7 runs on the board here this afternoon. Could be the Baltimore Orioles version of the play here. The way we're breaking ourselves down. So yeah, that's fine. Listen, we like Mateo. I agree with you. We'll see who's in the lineup for the Dodgers. In Espinal, 2,700 versus Rodriguez probably seems fine. Outfield, a lot of guys we can choose from here. Acuna's up to 6,500. Randy Arozarena is at $6,100 here. Springer's at 54. Dola's 5K. Jake Fraley's up to 5K. Not that I'm playing him against Strider, just commenting on the absurdity of Jake Fraley being 5K. Break down this top half of the outfield position for me.
I mean, look, Acuna is a monster, and even on down games like yesterday where he's just 1 for 3 with a single, he still has an RBI, 2 walks. Obviously, not having a stolen base, like you don't want 9 fantasy points from 6,500, but it just shows you the just raw ability of this guy, just insane. So I like Acuna quite a bit. Arozarena hits lefties very well, no problem getting there. I think I'm just kind of gonna keep trending on this Blue Jays path, John, and
Okay.
look at George Springer, who, he hasn't been great. He got in on the home run parade. He's been in on the home run parade that the Toronto Blue Jays have been on of late. I mean, Chapman has home run in 3 straight. Bichette has home runs in 3 of 4. Springer has home runs in 2 of 3. They've scored 22 runs in their last 2 games. The walls are moving in. Erod, it doesn't look like Boston Erod. He looks like
remember he disappeared last year for a random amount of time. He also missed a lot of time with the heart issue. He had the myocarditis.
Yep.
Hasn't really been that guy since. So who knows how much impact that's all having on him as well.
Yeah, so all good points. Springer with a little 4-game hit streak going. We love him at the top of this lineup. So I think Springer is probably my guy over 5K. And I also think it's hilarious that Jake Fraley is 5K.
So our guy William here says, do we like Acuna or Arozarena better tonight? You seemingly like Springer, though. You would play Springer over those 2 plays?
I mean, I guess it depends. Like if we're not factoring in stacks, like if we're playing just one-offs, then I think Springer would probably be my favorite. If you have the salary and you want to get to Acuna or Arozarena, I would probably lean Arozarena. Because Chris Sale just hasn't looked good, and the Boston bullpen is, what it is after Chris Sale. Right. So, and we know Chris Sale is he capped at 75 pitches for now, right? So, but if he struggles, are we getting 5 innings of the Boston bullpen, right? So, I lean Arozarena. If I had my choice of 5K and above, and you're playing Blue Jays, I would also include Springer in that.
Yep. William wants to know, would you play a mini stack of Springer, Bichette, and Chapman without Vlad? I don't mind it. I guess the only issue with that is that they're not as connected, right? Springer, Bichette hit near each other in the lineup. I think Chapman's what?
4? No, he's hitting. No, I think he's hitting pretty good.
Oh, 4th. Dude. Yeah, they got him at the 4th. Yeah, okay. I'm fine with that then. That's fine. That works for me.
Because
one, 2, 4. They moved it last year. I felt like he was sitting a little bit further down in their lineup, but
well, they also had Varsho. They had Varsho 4th yesterday with the righty on the mound.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. Then that's why they had him down. Yeah, listen, I'm fine. If you want to not play Vlad and play Mountcastle instead, like sign me up for sure. Mm-hmm. Works for me. Mid-tier outfielders for you. We mentioned Varsho, but he is a lefty versus lefty matchup. I've always been a Laureano guy. Same. I think that he got popped for Peds and people kind of passed him off. But he definitely has some speed. There's a little bit of power. He's got hits in 3 or 4 at 4,200. Again, Dean Kramer's not a good pitcher. So if you're going to find anybody in Oakland, Laureano, maybe Seth Brown tonight, something like that could be in play.
Yeah, I think it's probably Laureano or bust for me personally on the Oakland side of things. Like, sure, Jesus Aguilar can run into a home run, or Ryan Noda can run into a home run, or Tony Kemp could steal a base leading off, right? Like, Dean Kramer's not good, but they're just so bad. This team is so bad. Laureano would be the one piece that I'm perfectly fine with. I also like Dolan Varsho has kind of exercised his lefty demons from a year ago, John. His only home run this year is against a left-handed pitcher. He had 27 home runs last year. 26 of them were against righties. So he's already tied his home runs against lefties. And I profiled at the beginning, Erod's been a reverse splits pitcher for a large part of his career. Yeah. It's no different to start this season. It was no different last year, despite it being like a small sample, 393 WOBA to left-handed bats. Varsho hitting 5th. I mean, we're talking about everyone else, right, in this Blue Jays lineup. Like, Springer and Vlad and Chapman and Bichette. And then there's Dalton Varsho, 4,500, with upside to homer and steal a base. So I'm not going to forget about Varsho at 4,500 either.
Yeah. Austin Hayes at 3,800 almost feels like a core play for me.
Yeah, it's a core. Yeah, that is. Just plug it in now.
I'm just gonna click the button there. Austin Hayes at 3,800 is gonna make an outfield spot for me tonight.
Yep.
Outman's at 36 against Cobb, pretty decent. We got Margot and Hernandez here, $34 and $3,300 against Sale. Again, if you take your Red Sox half off, it just lines up to be a great matchup for Tampa Bay here.
Don't be talking. I'm dodging that one.
I was saying if you take your in the figurative space, if you take your
there's no your in Red Sox figuratively or literally. I'm dodging it either way.
All right, well, we got a couple minutes left here, so let's roll through and let's get our lineup together. There's a couple more value plays we could talk about, but let's build the lineup here tonight. Pitching, we like Evaldi here. Who is your SP1?
I mean, if Strider is the chalk,
okay.
I'm okay eating that chalk. He's cheaper than Kershaw. He's cheaper than Gossman. Okay. And I think that's going to allow us to get all the Blue Jays and Orioles that we want to get.
So let's see where we can jam in here. We like Mountcastle. Third base, we were going with Chapman and Bichette, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's $3,500 a play. Second base.
James McCann at the catcher position will afford us all the value we need.
McCann works. $3,900 for second base and two outfielders.
Merrifield or Urias.
Yep, I'm fine.
Ramon.
Yeah, I'm fine sticking your Ramon in there. $4,250 for two outfielders here. Let's see here. Varsho's 45.
I feel like he's going to be the forgotten man of the stack. So.
All right, Varsho's in there. We got 4K for one more play. We're probably going to eat some extra money this one. Let's go Outman 36. What do you think?
Yes, I think there's home run equity in James Outman for sure.
All right, that's the lineup for tonight. Get in the Discord if you're not already a member of Fantasy Alarm. Join today, fantasyalarm.com/allpro. Promo code MLB50 saves you 50% off the first 6 months. It takes you through the first month of the NFL season. Promo code MLB50 at fantasyalarm.com/allpro. For James and I, we'll be back tomorrow. Short slate on Thursday, but we'll have you covered there. Anyways, good luck. We'll talk to you all guys later.